Hello and welcome to the Falcon and Winter Soldier Episode 1 movie Changeup spoiler review. This is our second review of the day. We just got done filming a non-spoiler review for Zack Snyder's Justice League. So if you're watching this and you've seen Zack Snyder's Justice League or you haven't seen it yet and you're not sure whether you want to check it out or not, go head over there, watch our review. It was me and Tristan and then one of our other co-creators Bobby was on that, but this time Bobby had something to do, so this episode review is just going to be me and Tristan. Tristan, what were your thoughts going into Falcon and Winter Soldier? What were your expectations?
I was looking forward to it. I liked WandaVision. I didn't think it necessarily lived up to the theories and the things people built up about it, but I had a good time watching it. It pretty much delivered on what it set up to do. So I went into this optimistic. I was impressed by WandaVision, so I was hoping maybe this would come out and impress me, but fearing maybe it was just going to be another kind of forgettable Marvel action show. And I do kind of think it's starting to fall down the forgettable action show shoot already a little bit in parts, but I'm looking forward to maybe some creative choices or twists on the line that'll make it a little bit more interesting. I'm interested, but I'm cautiously interested.
All right, well, you need to go follow the accounts that I follow that definitely 100% predicted the Evan Peters is Ralph Boner theories. So all of those theories I saw were very, very accurate. So I
I
don't
gotta
know.
get on those good accounts.
I don't know where you were. But yeah, I was kind of the same way. I was just expecting like a fun action show, basically in the same tone of Captain America Winter Soldier, which is my favorite MCU movie. I mean, this is basically, I understand Bucky, spoiler alert, is the Winter Soldier, that his character debuted in the first Avenger, but like the Winter Soldier itself and Falcon both debuted in Captain America Winter Soldier. So that's kind of why I expected a tone similar to that. And so far, I've been right. We'll see how it goes. I think it was adequate show, fun action show that I definitely it didn't feel like a TV show as far as like stunt quality and special effects. It definitely felt like film quality effects and film quality stunts. I don't know what your thoughts were on that aspect.
Yeah, I thought that action was pretty impressive, at least just from like an outward looking in, cool
Mm-hmm.
looking action scene. I think right from the beginning, you get a cool Falcon action moment jumping out of the helicopter. I think we've seen it in trailers, so that's not.
Yeah.
We're talking spoilers anyway, but I was excited for it because I saw it in the trailer and I thought, oh, they're probably gonna have that be like the last scene of the
Yeah.
show or something like that. And to get to it right at the beginning was very exciting. It reminded me of that Mission Impossible movie where they hyped up the plane scene with Tom Cruise, and I was like, oh, that's gonna be the finale of the movie, and then it was like the opening action scene.
Yeah.
So it definitely kicked off into good action. So I was happy about that. I think the action felt a little bit empty. Maybe it's because I watched it right after the Snyder Cut, which was full of just like operatic level emotion level things. This very big scale Zack Snyder stuff, and this was just like, oh, they're terrorists, go to hunt them down. And I thought, okay, I wish we could have gotten a little bit more into these guys, or why is he fighting these guys? Maybe they'll do some more exploring of who these government goons are giving orders later. But I just
Yeah.
felt there could have been a little bit more weight behind the action, but it looked great.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, and yeah, I agree with that a little bit. Like it was a little bit hollow as far as the storyline telling in the action, but I thought the action was really well. They brought back Beltrock the Leaper, who was in the opening scene in Winter Soldier, played by UFC fighter George St. Pierre. So that was kind of cool to bring him back. Glad he's still getting work, which probably means he's never gonna fight in the UFC again. But it is what it is. Uh, but yeah, I really like that. And yeah, I think the action scenes were pretty good. They're not raid level, but
Yeah,
I
it's
thought
hard to make it the raid level.
I thought it was cool when he saved the guy in the helicopter by basically diving through the helicopter with his wings.
It was very cool action. It made me feel like, oh, I wish I was almost watching this in a theater because you can feel the moments to be like a theater pop. You know, when he goes through that helicopter and kicks it out, you could feel the crowd kind of clapping for that. It
Yeah,
gives you that movie cinematic feel where WandaVision intentionally so limited itself in TV space, and I think this very much is going
yeah,
for that. You're getting a Marvel action movie that's that scale, but you're giving it week to week on your Disney Plus. So if that's what you're in for, if that's what you're gonna get. It's
yep,
just a great large scale Marvel action show. It's not trying to do something especially interesting. Maybe it is, but we can talk about that in a little bit later. But yeah, I agree.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Ah, let's see what else is there. I think I like the overall storyline that they're going for. with this show, I feel like kind of the plot of the show is going to be Sam Wilson earning the shield. Like right now, he doesn't feel like he earns the shield or deserves the shield, and I feel like that's going to be kind of the plot is him going out and through his missions and through everything he does in this show is earning that shield, at least in his mind.
Yeah, because we get that scene towards right at the end actually, where we find out there's a new Captain America, third
Yeah.
person taking on the shield. So I think we're definitely gonna get a slow burn team up here of Bucky and Falcon. I thought it was cool that we didn't even see them together in the first
Yeah.
episode. They're giving us that kind of slow burn spy thriller. Everybody says Winter Soldier, oh, it's like a spy thriller. This is kind of going for that same vibe, like you said, the Winter Soldier
Yeah.
kind of vibe to the tone and to the scale. So I'm looking forward to more of that unraveling. I
Yeah.
want to talk a little bit about the villains too a little bit, but yeah, the overall plot of Falcon getting back the shield and getting back that honor, I think will be interesting to watch.
Yeah. So, what did you want to say about the villains?
The villains are going to be kind of the driving force of whether or not I like this show. I think
Yeah.
because they kind of have them coming up against this anarchist group of people who want to send time back to like it was during the snap of Thanos, that kind of couple year gap there, and they're like these anarchistic kind of
Yeah.
protesters that they're fighting against. So I think that has some potential political implications, obviously, of contemporary commentary. And
Yeah.
I wonder how well they're going to go into that. Are they going to be a little too one sided? Are they going to try and play both sides too much, not really go in any interesting way? I think Marvel doesn't particularly involve itself in politics usually in film, but with stuff like stuff like even Winter Soldier, yeah, it had surveillance in there, and Black
Yeah.
Panther had some political social themes in there. So I do think this is a
Yeah.
chance to give some more political themes. So I'm just looking forward to how that's going to unfold. That sort of
Yeah.
general tension there with the villains.
Yeah, I do think there are like political elements, like when he was trying to get the loan with his sister. Like there was the whole thing that you could, I mean, especially with Sam being a U.S. soldier before he became an Avenger, where like he was trying to get a loan and basically he couldn't because he hadn't been employed for 5 years, and it's like, well, I didn't exist for 5 years, and I feel like you could definitely still equate that to people who were in the military and like served their country and all that and still had struggles and problems when they got back and didn't feel like they were adequately supported and adequately helped, because you have the line from the banker who's basically like, well, didn't Tony Stark give you money? And he's like, no, it doesn't work like that.
You wonder why it doesn't work like that. I think there is commentary too of them being a working black family too, of trying to
Yeah.
get this loan to break out of poverty
Yeah.
essentially, and being told no because of things outside of their control. He says at the end, "Your family's been with my bank for how many
Yeah.
years, but I have to
Yeah.
decline your loan anyway." And
Yeah.
just people in that level of income, that declining of that loan can make or break it. Like I said, they
Yeah.
had loans out on the house. They were going to sell their boat. Even people who have served the country, even people who are working, owning a business, can still struggle to make ends meet. But I
Yeah.
do wonder too, like, how do they not get paid for being Avengers? Like, wouldn't there be like a paycheck from Shield or something? Like,
Well, I
Falcon
mean,
doesn't get paid for like PR appearances or a loan or anything like that. He saved the universe how many times now?
well, the thing you have to remember too is in the MCU he was working against Shield for basically his entire time he was an Avenger
That's true.
up until the snap, because he didn't become I mean, you could almost argue he wasn't even actually. I mean, I guess there was a point, because I remember in Ant-Man, um, when they went to steal whatever they were trying to steal in Ant-Man from the Shield place. Falcon was the one he fought, but still, for the most part, they were fighting against from Civil War on. He was fighting against Shield because Shield had been taken over.
That is true. You'd think there'd be like a some kind of insurance plan. Oh, you disappeared for 5 years. Oh, you're an Avenger. Here's your
Yeah,
basic income. You get a couple of checks a month from the government. Your
yeah,
disability, but your Avengability, your
yeah. Yeah,
snapability.
yeah. Like you feel like, hey, you're a member of the military. Technically, if you're working for Shield, you're a member of the military. Here's your, check. But I don't know.
And I do wonder how much they're going to address like society, how it behaved during that time. Because I was curious. After WandaVision, they have that line where Hayward says, "Oh, don't know what it was like back then," but we don't necessarily see what it was like back then. We see it from the Avengers perspective, but it's not necessarily from like the human
Yeah,
POV. I would really like
yeah,
to get some kind of glimpse. Maybe in this show we get it wouldn't be from either of them, but we could get a chance to learn more about what the world was like during that. They call it the blip in the MCU. I would just love to see how does the world even function, even a Marvel world function at 50% life.
Yeah.
Even like a 2% life, the people of leftovers lost their minds. How did 50% of the population even make it through
Yeah.
that time?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, obviously we've seen with coronavirus and stuff, I felt like it would take them a year to kind of get adjusted to it, of like rebuilding infrastructure and redoing all that for like a year. And after about a year, I think they would kind of get used to it and they would kind of have a new system in place. And then it's like automatically we've had a new system in place. We've kind of been operating functionally for about 4 years now. And then, boom, the population of the world just doubled. We have half the resources that we need, half of everything that we need, and boom, everything's just doubled.
It'd
So
be
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I would love to get more into that
yeah,
timeline of what was happening at that point.
yeah.
So I feel like that defines a lot of the characters, and we just don't get to
Yeah,
see that.
yeah. The more they talk about the blip, the more I want an anthology, like a Black Mirror style anthology show on Disney Plus. That's just like street level people that have zero connection to the Avengers. That were just like, this is how the blip affected their life. Like, I'd love to see a guy who's like wife and kids, or maybe like his wife and one of his kids snapped away, and in that 5 years he found someone else, got married, started a new family, and then it's like boom, his wife and like his kids are back, and now he has two families and he has to figure out his life.
I
Yeah,
would love if in these Disney miniverse shows they're doing, if they bring back Daredevil, they bring back Punisher, somewhat some of those Netflix characters, and they're just like, oh, here's what Daredevil was doing during this chaotic moment of
yeah,
half the population being gone. How is he maintaining order in Hell's Kitchen? Here's like a
yeah,
mini series of the Punisher fighting against organized crime during the blip.
yeah.
Something like that could be really interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because it's like, okay, I mean, obviously half the criminals went away too, but also half the cops, and so it's like it's just complete lawlessness. Yeah, I'd like to see I mean, I'd love to see like a political episode where it's like the president and vice president went away during the blip, Secretary of State becomes president, and then 5 years later the president comes back and he's like, well, technically my term didn't end because I wasn't here, so like I'm kind of still the president. And they're like, we've had a whole nother election since you've been gone, man. Like,
Yeah, I would love to get just more of a human scope. I hope
yeah,
the show can do that because they're definitely giving us more of that grounded vibe. We haven't gotten
yeah,
something this grounded probably since Winter Soldier. We've done a lot of
yeah,
cosmic kind of stuff, Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain Marvel, and
yeah,
obviously the Avengers. So this is a good chance for us to get that like boots on the ground look
yeah,
at what the MCU
yeah,
is like again, which is something I kind of miss. I like just seeing simple
yeah,
action story, good guys, and maybe the bad guys have some ulterior
yeah,
motives. I'm sure we've heard from reports that Zemo is back from Civil
yeah,
War. He's been in trailers and been
yeah.
on posters. That we
Yeah,
haven't
I
seen
feel
him
like
yet,
he's. We're
so
probably gonna
we'll tie in
realize.
somewhere.
I feel like we're probably gonna realize he's like the leader of this faction of people that this guy Torres is, fighting. And if you've read the comics, then Torres is the second person to take up the mantle of Falcon. Granted, they're probably going to change his origin story a little bit. They're probably not going to combine his DNA with a bird to turn him into a half human, half bird type thing. He's probably just, I imagine, at some point, Sam's going to take the shield and he's just going to take Sam's wings. It's probably how it's going to go down, but
It'd be interesting. I wasn't a huge fan of Flores. I thought his dynamic with Falcon was interesting, but I get
yeah,
weird mixed signals from the way that these movies kind of portray them, especially in this scene. It's like, oh, the military's in here to save everyone, and then like
yeah,
they pass by this family who lives in the Middle East, and they're like, oh, you saved my entire family. And the military is just like, oh, you're welcome.
yeah,
And it's very strange, but like I didn't realize he's a larger character, so I'm interested to see them do more with him. In this episode, I thought he was pretty one note. I was just like, okay, he's
yeah,
doing what Bucky's eventually going to be doing, is being Falcon's side character. So right now we're getting this Flores guy
yeah.
until I team up, but
Yeah,
hopefully you do more with him. And he's not just there for this cameo. I guess now that you're saying he's a bigger guy.
yeah. I think he's gonna kind of be the through line. I think what they've been shown in like these shows is I think they're gonna build like a TV version of the Avengers with Kate Bishop being Hawkeye and probably this guy taking over Falcon. They're probably gonna make like eventually have like a West Coast Avengers show or something with Miss Marvel and
And that'll be exciting. I think a lot of that setup is pretty cool. You have your own kind of separate universe. I know Kevin Feige did say like he doesn't want there to be spoilers
Yeah,
for the movies in the TV shows. Essentially, he wants you to be able to watch the movies separately from the shows. So I would like it if he had the same thing on this
yeah,
side. You know, if I could sit here and be like, I'm kind of getting tired of the Marvel movies, so maybe I'll just check out the shows,
yeah,
and maybe I won't miss much. I can just watch the seasons, watch the crossovers.
yeah, yeah. I think that's the way they're gonna go. I think. But we've talked a lot about Falcon. What's your thoughts on Winter Soldier, its whole storyline here? Because that was the part that was a little confusing for me at first, but I think I kind of figured
I'm
it out.
I'm getting really into it. I like the way they're using him to explore the PTSD, not just of his time as a Winter Soldier, I think, but I think they're also going to get into the PTSD of being a victim of the blip. What was it like to just be gone for this many years and come back?
Yeah,
And Winter Soldier is a unique character because he's experienced that twice. He was a World War II soldier who's now experienced this huge passage of time to wake up in contemporary world, and now he's done it again. So he has this kind of preconceived notion. Everybody around him is kind of thinking, "Oh, isn't it weird that we snapped and lost time?" And he's just thinking like, "Yeah, I guess, but I've done that before. I'm 109 years old, whatever it was."
yeah,
I really love seeing him kind of adjust into the new world and struggle with
yeah,
this PTSD of him as a character. I think he's the one that I'm most interested in watching, which is not something I
yeah,
thought I would say before this episode, but I think his storyline here is what got me hooked the
yeah,
most, got me thinking there's going to be a little bit more complexity to the
yeah,
characters. That's what I want out of these storylines on these shows, is us to get a chance to get into the deeper roots of side characters. So I love Winter Soldier's storyline here. What were you confused
yeah.
about there, and what were your
Well, it
thoughts?
wasn't so much confusing, but it was like just trying to figure out what his whole storyline was when he was like crossing off names and looking at names, and then I realized, oh, he's like, this is his almost like 12-step program, except for instead of being an alcoholic, he went around murdering people, and so this is kind of him trying to, make amends with all of the people he's hurt when he was in the Winter Soldier. But I really enjoy like the date scene was probably my favorite scene in the episode. I just like the concept of picturing Bucky going on a date. I thought that was interesting. Talking about Tinder, I can't really imagine Bucky going on Tinder, but I
He
guess
does have the old man vibe. He's from World War II, but he feels like he's from World War II. Despite looking young, he got the
yeah,
old man vibe to him.
yeah. And I still partially feel like there's documentaries on, uh, like I think we saw in Homecoming. Like there's documentaries on the Snap. There's documentaries on Tony Stark. Like I feel like if you were to tell someone I'm Bucky Barnes, I think most, at least Americans in the universe of the MCU, would know who that is. I feel like he's a pretty recognizable
That's what
face.
I was thinking. I didn't realize he had like a secret identity. I thought at this point people would know who he is and who all the Avengers are. The MCU outside of Peter Parker hasn't really dealt with secret
No,
identities very much. They've all just been
no,
the
no.
characters. So
Yeah,
I'm interested to see, because he is trying to
yeah,
balance that duality of that life, who he was as a hero and who
yeah,
he is now. He's struggling to connect, and for
yeah.
some
Like
reason keeping that a secret. Maybe because the Winter Soldier killed a bunch of
yeah,
people. He's kind of known as an assassin, and he doesn't know how
yeah,
people are going to feel about that. But I'm really curious to explore his psychology more.
yeah. Like even Falcon's not even hiding it. Like he talked about it with a bank guy. Like the bank guy's like, "You were an Avenger." Like we talked about that before, but still comes back around. But yeah, I like the idea of him dating. The thing at the end though, revealing like that his neighbor, that he or like the older guy that he had connected with, finding out that he was the one that killed his son was a nice little twist.
It was a good twist. I didn't. The first time I watched it, I had to think for a second, like, okay, who was that kid again? Because it was so
Mm,
earlier in the episode. But I really liked it. I'm loving his storyline here.
yeah.
I
The,
especially want to see if he keeps connecting with the old guy. If it was like a one-off thing, and now he's never going to talk to him again.
yeah, I feel like that. I think that's going to be a longer payoff storyline where eventually, like, cause his whole thing of making amends. I feel like that's going to be kind of his final one of him finally admitting to that old guy, maybe in like the final episode or penultimate episode, or maybe even just next episode, of him being like, "Yeah, so I'm the one that killed your son." But
So, do you have any theories on what it is that's going to bring Falcon and the Winter Soldier together on the same mission, working side by side?
I think it's going to be U.S. Agent having Captain America's shield. That I feel like I don't think Bucky has a single problem. Like as you saw at the end of uh, Endgame, I think Bucky kind of knew what was up. Because if you watch that scene back, everyone's like, "Oh, see you in a minute, see you in a minute," and then Bucky was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna miss you." So like Bucky knew what was up the entire time. Steve might have even told him, and so I don't think he has a single problem with Falcon holding Cap's shield. I think he's definitely going to have a problem with, U.S. Agent, aka Wyatt Russell, aka Ego the Living Planet's son, holding Cap's shield. I think he's gonna not be a fan of that, as basically him being used as propaganda, and maybe even not even telling people that this isn't like a OG Captain America. This is a different. They might not even tell people like, oh, this is a different guy taking on the role of Captain America. They might try to convince people that this is the same Captain America, and he's not gonna have the same morals as Steve Rogers.
They did a lot of throwbacks here to the first Captain America. They showed a lot of like pictures on the wall and posters and things like
Yeah,
that, which reminded me of my favorite part of that movie, which is them using Captain America as like this propaganda
yeah,
piece, doing these videos and things like that. So I do wonder if they're going to use U.S. Agent as something like that in this storyline to try and
yeah,
give some complexity to the characters. Because as of right now, it's very black and white. It's very the U.S., the military, the they're the good guys, and the flag smashers, they're the bad guys. But I do have a feeling there's going to be a little more to that,
yeah.
something along the lines of Winter Soldier, where there's deeper stakes to each of the sides. So I'm really
Oh,
expecting there to be some complexity there with this character. I'm excited for it.
yeah, I think, yeah, I definitely think it's good like that. I just think it's gonna be them not liking this guy having Cap shield, because it's gonna probably. I mean, the whole thing of like, hey, like put a shield in the museum and belongs in a museum was definitely like them being like, hey, give us your shield so we can give it to this guy.
I don't know much about U.S. Agent from the comics, but I'm theorizing just at the first episode that he's going to turn out to be a bad guy.
Yeah,
That's my hot take.
I mean, yeah, he's definitely not a good guy. He works for Thunder. I can't remember the Thunderbolts, but yeah, it's Thunderbolt Ross's like crew of basically his answer to the Avengers that all directly work for him that are not not great people.
Sounds interesting. I wonder if that'll be a thing along here. He's going to be
Yeah,
gathering up some forces of
yeah,
government goons to take him on.
yeah. I think that's going to be kind of the overarching plot. The one thing I thought was funny because I kind of forgot what Winter Soldier's overall look was from Winter Soldier, because like he hasn't like been like the Russian version of Winter Soldier for a while. He's just kind of been his own thing. So when he's walking around like wearing a mask, I'm like, oh, like Bucky really cares about coronavirus. And then I'm like,
No,
oh
they
wait, like
really
that's
brought
just how
that
he looked.
timeline in.
I'm like, oh no, that's just how he looks.
I was kind of surprised by that scene. It was really cool seeing Bucky hunting down again as a Winter Soldier, but
You
I did think like, oh look, is Bucky killing again? They kind of brought me in on that like surprise of like, oh, is he killing people again? They said Hail Hydra, and I said, oh, it's supposed to be a flashback.
Yeah,
So I like that too.
yeah, I saw that and I was like, wonder. I mean, I think they're kind of using his hair as like if it's his short hair, then it's present day. If it's longer hair, then it's in the past. But when he said Hail Hydra, I wondered if it was like a Captain America scene, and I can't remember if it was in Infinity War or Endgame, where I think Endgame, where Cap says it to the Hydra people, so they give him the
That's right.
scepter, where he doesn't like mean it. So that's what initially when he first said Hail Hydra, that's kind of what I expected that scene was, but then I realized oh, it's a flashback.
Yeah, he's hunting down Hydra agents, like you said. He's getting his kind of
Yeah,
revenge on these guys, making himself feel better. So I am excited to hear that too. I think
yeah,
the Hydra takeover of Shield was the most interesting thing the MCU's probably ever done, and
yeah,
the whole storyline. So I hope they can kind of explore the ramifications of that in this show.
yeah, definitely. I'm very curious to see where the show goes. I don't remember how many episodes they said there were, but I assume if they're on the same pattern that like this and WandaVision were, I know they just announced that Loki premieres June 11th. So that would mean um, that the making of show that I can't remember what they're calling it would be like June 4th. So this would be like end of May is when this ends.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm excited to see where they go with this. I don't know much about the characters from the comics. I don't know a ton about Marvel characters really from the comics. So I'm excited to get into those characters.
Yeah,
I signed up for Marvel Unlimited, their comic service. So I've been
yeah,
reading, kind of trying to catch up on some Marvel classics. I was always more of a DC guy myself, but with Marvel taking over the world, I think it's time to get into that. So I'm excited
yeah,
to read along with the show and read some of the
yeah,
relevant stories.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting because I don't know. I just never really cared for the Marvel comics that much. I just know from like Googling and like dabbling a little bit and like who like U.S. Agent are, and I know like Torres or whatever his name is the second person to be Falcon, and but Falcon in the comics is very different than Falcon in the MCU. They're just like, okay, we like this character kind of, but his origin is dumb, and so we're gonna change it because the fact that he talks to Bert, because like in the MCU, he doesn't talk to birds, and his Falcon is a drone instead of an actual Falcon. Because they're
I
like,
wonder
this
if
is
they have a
stupid.
reference to it. At some point, he'll talk to a bird before the end of the show.
Yeah, that they should like, but not like understand each other. But there's a bird, and he's just like talking to it, like just like, what up,
Or maybe
bird?
he'll be out in the jungle somewhere and he'll work along with some kind of tame bird,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
who have
yeah.
a throwback to his costume like WandaVision did. They had the Halloween costumes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, Winter Soldier is a new character, so he's kind of stuck in his ways. There's really no OG Winter
There has
Soldier.
been rumors going around that we might see Chris Evans return at some form or another by the end of the season. We
Yeah,
know from the past that rumors in Marvel shows are not necessarily going to pan out to anything.
yeah.
But how do you feel about
Yeah.
that after one
I
episode?
mean, we've already had Rhodey appear, which I was surprised by. He didn't really do a whole lot, but I thought his like cameo and appearance made sense for what it is. Um, I wouldn't be 100%, surprised. I feel like if he were to return, it would be more in a flashback capacity, and it wouldn't be necessarily present day that he's appearing in. Like, I don't think he would jump over from like wherever he is in the
Oh, I
multiverse.
forgot to say this and give them another speech and go back.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely more going to be a flashback or potentially Loki as Steve Rogers.
That's what I'm wondering if they're
Like,
going to try and set up Loki because I know there was an interview I saw today or yesterday where the director or the writer of the show said that there's at least three setups in this for future shows. They just can't say what.
yeah,
So I do
yeah,
wonder if we're going to get some setups for
yeah,
good stuff and
yeah,
probably a Loki cameo because I don't know how they're going to tie it together because this show is so grounded compared to the other stuff, compared to Loki,
yeah,
compared to uh, WandaVision. So I wonder how
yeah,
much they're going to keep it hidden from
yeah,
the rest of the MCU versus connected.
yeah. I feel like this show is like just weird enough with like robot arms, and that if Loki were to appear in an episode to like mess with Thunderbolt Ross, to like pretend to be Steve Rogers and be like, I'm back and blah blah blah, or not mess with Steve Rogers, mess with Ross and be like, I'm Steve Rogers and I'm like here to take my shield back, and like give a speech like Loki as Steve Rogers to give a speech to the American people of like, this guy is not who he says he is, to kind of, I don't know if that's necessarily in Loki's character to give a crap about American politics and spy work, but I feel like they can make it work.
I do have one more question. Which of these cast members is going to be a scroll by the end of the show? Because we got to have a scroll in every MCU thing.
Who's gonna be? Oh, Agent Carter when she appears. She's gonna appear, and she's gonna be in like a number of episodes and then appear to be a scroll at the end. That's my prediction.
That'd be a good one. And you wonder, I'm waiting for them to do like a scroll's been here the entire time because right now we've gotten Nick Fury
Yeah,
and Kobe Smolder as
yeah,
their scrolls, but they've only been scrolls for however long it's been since Endgame.
yeah,
I I'm looking for we've been scrolls. We've been here since the '90s. We've been here since the '60s. We've been here the entire time planning. I want that kind of secret invasion storyline. So I'm hoping
yeah.
we get someone who's like, oh yeah, I've been a scroll since like World War I times,
Aunt May.
manipulating America or something like that.
Yeah.
Ant Man will show up and be a scroll, a
Winter
stricken scroll.
Soldier's been a scroll the whole time and we didn't know.
That would be a
They
twist.
they like with his mind erasing and all that, they made him forget that he's a scroll.
That would be a really good one. I'm waiting for someone to come as a scroll and they're like, oh yeah, I snap back, but really they're just a scroll the whole time.
Yeah.
That's my twist. There's gonna be some kind of scroll. I'm waiting for the scroll. That's the whole reason I'm watching the show.
Yeah. I mean, there's some action and other stuff. Oh, we have a viewer. That's cool. Probably Bobby. What up, Bobby? How you doing?
Hope you like Falcon the Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Do you have any other more thoughts on this?
I love the action. I'm curious to see where the plot goes. I am invested in the Winter Soldier more so than Falcon, but I think Falcon's providing some good expository dialogue and being kind of a good center of the theme, so I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to more from him. The villains I'm mixed on. I'm looking forward to getting more with them. I just hope we do, and I hope they're not just very one note. That would be something the MCU's done a lot, so I'm hoping for some good villains here. Overall, I'm invested. I'm not super loving the show so far, but it's one episode in, and I'm looking forward to episode two.
Yeah, yeah, same. Oh, how before we go, how did you feel about the whole Uncle Sam thing? I thought that was a little too on
A
the
little too
nose.
on the nose,
Yeah,
but when she saluted it, I was like, oh, at least they know. At least they know it's on the nose. It wasn't just the kids saying Uncle Sam. I was like, well, that's bad. And then she said, oh yeah, Uncle Sam, and I was like, okay, they understand that it's dumb. They're
yeah.
just
I mean
doing
that
it.
that is where he got like hit his character's name. That is like who they named him after. So I get it. But yeah, it was a little too on the nose for me. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think I'm a little bit higher on it than you, but I'm not like mind blown amazed by it. I'm definitely intrigued to see where it goes. Gonna keep watching each week.
Yeah, comparatively to WandaVision, when I watched first episode of WandaVision, I was like, I need more of this now. I need to know what's going on. And for this, I
Mm,
was like, if I could, I would just wait till this was all out and probably binge it. But
yeah.
knowing myself, I'll watch it week to week.
Yeah, with WandaVision, I was kind of the opposite, where I watched the first episode and I'm like, I don't know about this. Like, this could very easily go very bad very quickly, and like, it was fine. This, I'm more like, all right, it's gonna be solid. Not gonna blow me away, I don't think, but I think it's gonna be a solid, decent show that I might go back and watch every couple of years. With WandaVision, I kind of am like, yeah, I saw it. I get it. Maybe I'll rewatch it before Doctor Strange 2, but we'll see. But yeah, that's been our review of Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 1. I doubt we're gonna come back week to week unless some mind blowing shit happens next week. Then we might be like, hey, we
We
were
gotta
wrong.
talk about
We were
this.
wrong about this show. We got to come back and review it each week. But
Yeah, Falcon, he was Mephisto the entire time. We didn't know it, but it turns out it was true.
yeah, we didn't know. That's our thing is we were wrong. It's not who's the scroll. It's who is actually Mephisto. Turns out it was Falcon. Who would have known? Who would have known?
If Chris Evans comes back and they're like, oh, actually, he's just playing Ralph Boner.
Yeah. More dick jokes. That's what the show didn't have, that WandaVision had. Dick jokes. But we have a number of episodes to fit some dick jokes in there, so we'll see.
Yeah, I needed at least a dick joke per episode number. So you had one this episode. You could add two next, three the
Yeah.
next. But
Yeah.
you're in a deficit now. You got to do two next episode,
Yep.
maybe three next episode. You got to
Yeah.
make up for the dick jokes.
Maybe four, just, in case.
Yeah, it's interest.
Yeah. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, our two viewers. Go check us out on TikTok. We're blowing up. We're running TikTok now. That's why I'm
Yeah,
Joe.
Joe's running TikTok.
Joe, social media mogul. Mogul.
I just watch the movies.
All right.
Come and talk about them.
I just make TikToks. That's all I'm good for, apparently.